So we are live, and today we're going to decide. We're actually going to talk today about imperfections and how being imperfect is actually perfect to me, right? Because I feel like Gemma brought up a really good point. And so Gemma is someone I had on the podcast before. And so Gemma, what I'm going to do is I want you to introduce yourself. So I'm going to just give you the floor. Go ahead and tell them who you are, what you do, and why we're going to be touching this topic today.
Hey, I'm a life coach based in the UK, helping predominantly female trauma survivors and carrying the message of imperfections are really our own perfections.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my motto is basically embrace imperfections, become authentic yourself.
Right. And one of the things that Gemma and I were talking about is how people are unaliving themselves due to imperfections. And although I use the old terminology, right, we don't want to use that on YouTube because then they'll censor everything. So we're going to say unalive. And I actually, Gemma, I understand that place of thinking that that's the solution. When I was younger, much younger, and I couldn't see a way out of my situation. I was in a terribly toxic, abusive relationship, and I had no support of my family. I felt very much alone, very much in a place where if I just end this now, I would be at peace.
Mm.
I'm grateful to God at 52 now that I didn't do that. But it is a real thing, Gemma. And when I had my kids, I really believe that that's what saved me in a lot of ways because there were times where I would literally have the temptation to drive my car off of a cliff or off of a bridge or hit a tree. And I think it's something that needs to be discussed. And I'm glad that that's the where you wanted to take this conversation today. So why don't you talk to us about embracing our imperfections? What does that mean? And why are you connecting that with the pandemic, if you will, of people unaliving themselves right now? I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think people believe that there is such a strong stigma surrounding imperfections, surrounding talking about mental health, when really, if we just broached those subjects and we started making more powerful connections,
Mm,
then there really shouldn't be a stigma around it. It's all about opening up those conversations that you're sometimes terrified, sometimes nervous to start.
yeah. Yeah.
Because what people really need to realize is conversations around unaliving themselves doesn't um, ignite that thought immediately in somebody's head. It helps them to realize that other people have been in that same situation
Yeah.
and they can talk to others about the situation that they've found themselves in, either
Yeah.
through trauma or either through mental health. Maybe it's a medical problem. Um, but the more people stay silent surrounding this, the more we suffer and see the huge spikes in mental health and unalived rates around the world. And it's a terrifying situation to be in. I don't know about you, where you see these rates go up and you're
Hmm.
thinking, well, hang on, if more and more people started having these conversations and surrounding themselves with the right people, then the stronger they'll feel, both inwardly and outwardly.
Yeah. I think being um, in solitude and alone can be very dangerous.
Mm.
I think if you're meditating, it's one thing.
Yeah.
If you are meditating on the wrong things, it's not the right thing.
Mm.
And because sometimes the people say just meditate, and that's true. You do need
Yeah.
to. I believe in God, Jem. I don't know where you fall on that, but I believe in God, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of times when I'm going through very hard times in my life, I do pause to spend alone time with God, right? And that's because He is my anchor and my source. And so, but I remember when I didn't have faith
Mm.
And I'm not saying that everybody needs to have faith, but this is what worked for me because when I didn't have faith, I felt very hopeless.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't really have anyone to talk to, Gemma. And
Mm.
so I felt very much alone. And I think people feel that way, you know. I wanted to ask you a question about this because I was reading an article recently, and it broke my heart actually. I started crying when I read it because there are now places that will help you unalive yourself. And it's happening. This article that I was reading is more in Canada, and it was a large percent of homeless people, completely healthy, amazing humans, but they were homeless and they didn't like the situation they were in. And they go to these facilities and they can unalive themselves by assistance. And the rate has gone up tremendously. People are doing it left and right. It's this darkness and desperation piece where you feel like, well, I'm homeless. I have nothing. I've been homeless, so I get that. I get that feeling. Um, but I also know you can climb out of it and you can ask people for help because more people want to help you than don't. I really believe that. I really
Yeah.
believe that. So I don't know if you heard about that, about, this phenomena going on now. Um, but I love when you said you need to speak to people and you need to speak to the right people,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they're selling this thing as
Mhm.
like a solution. That is not
Nope.
a solution. That is them making money off the backs of humans. That irritated me when I was reading it. It actually made me
Yeah.
cry when I was reading it. And I'm like, why isn't anybody reaching out to them and just letting them know, listen, why don't we give you some shelter, give you some
Uh-huh.
skills, give you some whatever you need, mental
Yeah.
health, assistance,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, as opposed to just, hey, you know what? It is hard. Let's end
Yeah.
it. Right?
Mm.
So, what do you say to somebody who's listening right now and is thinking, I don't have anybody. I feel very much alone. This is harder than anybody thinks because I love when you said you're not alone out there. A lot of people are going through this. So
Mhm.
talk to that person right now. What should that person be thinking, or give them a tool or something that they can use so that they realize they're not alone in this?
I would just say reach out to the right people. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Don't listen to it. Block it if you have to. And just make sure that you know who you are at the end of the day. You know where you are, but whatever darkness surrounds you, there's always light that's waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that more than anything. Um, because no matter, and I mean, when you look, there's always dark places that
Yeah.
surround all of us,
Yeah.
especially at the moment with what's going on. So just make sure that you can give yourself little points, little steps to take each day that bring you lightness.
Yeah.
There's a little thing that I like to use, and it's called a joy list, which somebody introduced me to, and it's absolutely amazing. So throughout your day, make sure that you have little things written down on this list that you know that you can incorporate into your day to give yourself something to look forward to.
Oh, could you give us an example?
Yeah, whether it's going out for that walk, whether it's listening to your favorite podcast, whether it's taking in some fresh air in the back garden. I know it's cold at the moment here, but it's still fresh air and you
Yeah.
can still enjoy it. It's all about going back and enjoying the simple things rather than thinking that you have to go out and buy this, buy that, buy the other, do this experience and do that
Mm-mm.
experience. It's not all about that. And I think
Right.
there's too much of this. You've got to buy this app and buy that app and buy the other app. I get so angry when they talk about like buying this therapy app and it's like £40 over here a week or something, because I'm thinking there's too many people that can't afford that.
Right, 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 right,
And it's just so infuriating
right, right.
because I'm thinking, how many people are missing out? on therapy just because they can't afford it.
Right.
It's,
Right. So what do we do about that, right, Gemma? Like, so say somebody's listening and really can't afford it, because you're right. I mean, I know that you are across the pond,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Here in the States, everything is at high inflation. I mean,
Mm.
it is expensive,
It's the
right?
same over here.
Yeah, yeah. So people are feeling that, and people are really making decisions. Do I buy medicine? Do I buy food? Like it's like
Mm.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so I love the joy list. I think that's super important. I also I was reading something once called God Winks, right?
Mm. Mm.
And it's or God Nudges. I think it was called God Winks. And it's basically a little bit about what you're saying, but in a different angle, where when you see something that is a God wink, something empowering, or something that is you appreciate, you
Yeah.
would notice that God is winking at you, you know?
I love that
Um,
idea.
yeah, so it was kind of like keeping your eyes focused on all of the good stuff that's going to happen. Like, like the bird flying and you just love the color of the bird or whatever it is, whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
like it's because it's about focus, isn't it?
Mm.
Your brain can literally go into the negative quickly.
Yeah.
It's built that way. That's what it does.
Mhm.
But you can actually start to do what I call the red car syndrome, right? Like you say to yourself, I want to buy a red car. And all of a sudden, all you see all over the place is a red car,
Red
right?
car. Yeah.
So one of the things I had to do when I was going through my depression
Mhm.
is for me was to leave it to me was to leave it with God because I couldn't handle it anymore. It was
Yeah.
consuming my entire life.
Mm.
And then I started to do things differently, one increment at a time.
Yeah.
So I brushed my teeth with my right, but I started brushing my teeth with my left.
Mm.
I brushed my hair one way, I started brushing it another. I started doing like one little thing every few days to a week. One
Yeah.
thing. And because I had to focus on doing that,
Mhm.
it took my mind off of the stuff that was happening in my life. And every day, I don't know if you know, what is her name? Something Robbins.
Mel
It'll come.
Robbins?
Mel Robbins. Yes, the 5 second rule. Right.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
read that book while I was in depression, and it changed everything because she talks about get counting five from five backwards and then just
Yeah.
jumping out of bed and doing what you have to do. Because I
Yeah.
wasn't doing that. I was snoozing, snooze, 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 because I just didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And okay, I said, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. First, I was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, yeah, 10, 9, 8, 7. It's like I wasn't doing the thing. And then
Yeah.
one day I said, you know what? Either you're gonna do the thing or you're not gonna do the thing. So I
Yeah.
started doing it, and it started to transform the way I do things. That little thing,
Yeah.
that little thing. So I want people to be encouraged with what you're saying with the joy list, with the God winks. There's other tools, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You don't have to be stuck in this place,
No.
right?
Mm.
Do you have routines that you do in order to give yourself the boost you need to move forward?
Absolutely. Yeah. When
Yeah,
I,
share
yeah,
those.
when my alarm goes off at 7 a.m., I'm up, and quite often I'll go downstairs and get in my ice bath first thing for
I'm a,
however long I
I'm a
can take.
chicken. I'm a chicken. I haven't done that yet, Gemma.
It feels amazing.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Yeah. Then I go and make myself a cup of coffee and maybe stick on a podcast or slow music in the background. And then I grab my journal.
Mm.
And if it's like a Monday morning or something, I'm on Instagram journaling at 7 a.m. Um, because it's those little things every morning
Yeah.
that really give us the most boost that we
Mhm.
need.
Mhm.
If your day starts off right, it will go in a good direction. If your
Mm.
day starts off bad, it will go in a bad direction.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you don't catch it, especially if you don't catch it, right?
yeah,
I used to do this all the time. Like if the day goes bad, oh, why did I even get up today? And then I would like basically only see the bad things the whole day. But
yeah.
as I got better and as I transformed my thinking, I started to say, "Oh, it started bad, but it doesn't have to end bad." You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like this is just
Yeah.
one bad situation. I also stopped allowing my brain to
Mm.
make everything everything. So in
Yeah.
other words, like everybody hates me. Everybody? Is it really everybody? I started questioning myself. Like, is
Yeah.
it really the whole day ruined or is it just
Mm.
this moment? So I tell my subconscious brain to stop being so dramatic. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Right.
it's so easy to do, but those small steps that we can all take and
Yeah.
those really simple things to do are so good and they hold so much value.
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
Yeah.
another thing that I do is gratitude every morning, where I just write down whether it's two, three, or five things. That's just a simple reminder to
Yeah.
me that little things exist as well as the big things outside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's I can't put enough value on gratitude. It's brilliant.
Oh yeah, it is. I use gratitude every day too. That actually transformed my life, to be honest. I mean, when I first started, I was in a pretty dark place, so I would be all, pissy about having to do a gratitude thing in the morning. I was like, oh, I'm grateful because I'm breathing. I'm grateful, but then I realized I actually am grateful because I'm breathing. I
Yeah,
actually am. I actually am grateful that I have arms and legs or that I can move. I actually am grateful that I'm not in a hospital bed right now. Actually, and it started to grow until the point where you just start realizing you are so grateful for everything in your life. And
yeah,
another thing I did that really helped me is I took like a sticky, like just one of these things,
yeah.
and I wrote like 4 or 5 things I was grateful for, and I stuck it on the side of my bed. So every morning when I woke up, before I even get out of bed, I saw the list and I would read it. And then every night
Such a good
before I went to
habit.
bed, I would read it. And that transformed my whole life because sometimes you don't get up in the mood. Sometimes
Yeah,
you don't go to sleep in the mood, but it's irrelevant of what your mood is. You're just reading
yeah,
the list. But before you
absolutely.
know it, it subconsciously starts sticking in the brain. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it starts altering your whole nervous system and starts making it in that regular neutral position that we all
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
I know this is not medical advice, so you guys don't take this as medical advice. Like if you have to go see someone, please do. If
yeah,
you are in a place where you are feeling super depressed and none of this is working, go see someone. It could be a chemical imbalance. It could be other things going on. So I don't want you guys to think, "Oh, okay, yeah, gratitude list." Let me tell you, it does help.
it
But I'm not
does.
going to tell you that it cures all things because we're not doctors.
No,
Okay. But I do want to encourage you. And when Gemma brought this up, I'm like, oh, that's a great topic to talk about. Why don't we talk about that? Because more people need to be talking about it.
mm,
Right now, people are feeling all kinds of ways, right, Gemma, with all of the stuff going on with the politics and social media and all this other stuff. And it's just like at some point, we have to pause and remember that there's humans on the other side of these
so,
feelings and these things
mm,
going on, right?
yeah.
So how is it that you work with people? How do you help people and how are you showing up for them?
I help people. I show up on Instagram and through my podcast, as you know. And I also run a program called Unveiling Your Authentic Self, which is
Awesome.
where they have a workbook that they can use all the time for 3 months. And then they've got a weekly session with me as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
what is it that you are helping them transition or get through with your program?
it's helping them not feel as lost or as disconnected with themselves after trauma.
Oh,
As
wow.
you sometimes can't get reconnected with yourself fully
Yeah.
after trauma.
Yeah.
And sometimes leaving therapy ends up with you more confused at the end of a line and you wonder, well, what's next? So this program's all about looking beyond the crossroads and looking to the future. And as well, the workbook is going to be available physically on Amazon very soon.
Oh, that's amazing.
Um,
What happens too with trauma is that trauma happened, right? The trauma happened. The
Mhm.
problem is that we continue to be traumatized, right? And
See?
that's what needs to change. Trauma happened. Trauma's trauma. It happened. It's a thing, you know?
Yeah,
But when you continue your whole life being traumatized, that's where the issues come in because you start to realize that you're holding yourself back from all the beautiful things you could be doing,
yeah,
or you're looking at things in a skewed view because you're looking at it through the eyes of trauma, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I
That's
mean,
awesome.
what I find is more people are living in the flight or fright mode for longer than they realize. And then more people as well are living in like the depressive state for longer than
Hmm.
they realize.
Yes.
And this is why it's so crucial to develop more self-awareness, develop those healthier habits so you can dump the unhealthy habits and start shaping yourself into not only more authentic, but healthier too, in both
Hmm.
mind and body.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. I love the work you do. I love what you're doing. And I want to thank you for wanting to talk about this and bringing this up. And I hope that we can jump on another one of these very soon. I'd love to continue diving deeper into what this means, what it looks like, giving maybe a practical roadmap, things like that. So, would you join me on that next time?
yes, completely. Of course
Okay.
I would.
Okay, great. Well, guys, I have to wrap this up, but what I will say is, I'm gonna have Gemma let you know how you can contact her and reach her. I want you guys to know that you are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. We don't just say that to say that. It's a true statement. You are not alone. I don't care where you live in the world. Now you have an ability to connect with people through a media like this, through phone, through podcast, through whatever. You are not alone. People are going through hard times, hard things, especially during the holiday seasons. That usually brings up a lot of emotions or people who you've lost, things like that. But
Yeah.
you know what? You can do this. You can stand in who you were created to be. And the first thing you have to do sometimes is just reach out for help or just have someone talk to you. So, Gemma, give us that information on how people can reach you, talk to you, and see what it is that how you can align with what they're going through and how they can transition into something greater in their life.
Okay, so you can reach me by going at www.jemmablythe.com. You can also Instagram me at gemma.e.blythe. And you can also, brain blank.
They
You
could jump
can,
on a call with you and stuff like that too.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. That's
Mhm.
all on my site and through Instagram too.
Okay.
Everything is there.
Thank you so much for doing this and for having the heart that you have. Because we've been trying to do this for some time. And I really am grateful that you decided that, reaching out to someone is super important.
It is.
And I have a beautiful audience with amazing human beings. And I know that this will, once I edit a little bit because Gemma got me saying all kinds of SEO stuff in the beginning. I don't know what was happening there, but we are live. So thank you so much for being here and I appreciate you.